gentlemen, to our spoiler discussion of Star Wars, or what's it called? Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yes.
The first in the anthology series of movies, and hopefully you got a chance to see the film. If you didn't see the film, then check out the film and then come back to this video. But hopefully you also got a chance to see the non-spoiler review where some other issues are kind of brought up. And here in this video we're going to go into a lot more detail about many aspects of the film, so buckle up. Alright, we're going to just jump right into it. Things that I liked, and then The Legend of Nod is going to kind of like build on those and then introduce a few other things. So we have a list here. So we're going to start with the things we liked. So my favorite character in the film was Cassian, Diego Luna's character. I just thought that he really clearly represented like the themes of the movie of war being like a very gray area, and sometimes you do have to compromise your morals in order to get the job done. What did you think of him?
Yeah, I got a lot from him. He's actually the character that I got the most out of in terms of character development or just really caring about him in general. Mm-hmm. Like even Ursa, was it? Jyn? Yeah, even Jyn Erso didn't have as much appeal in that matter because she, like, they kind of glossed over her, like, any motivation that she had other than, oh, okay, now she's a part of the rebels, now that she sees that her father was actually trying to help. She didn't have, like, a motivation by herself, so that was a bit weak for the movie, especially the fact that the movie tried to pump her up as the main character. So I feel like he kind of earned that.
In a lot of ways, like I mean, we were talking about this like outside of the theater that like it felt kind of like a dual protagonist story. Although like the marketing and like you said like it was really she was like the focal point, but like his character development was just so much more consistent and like layered that I felt more empathy for him than I did Jyn, to be honest.
Absolutely, and I actually felt a lot of empathy for the main bad guy as well, even more so than Jyn.
Krennic?
Yeah, Krennic. I felt that he wanted to be the all-powerful one, the one who's right, who's getting all his orders straight from Sidious, so
yeah.
He wants to be Tarkin.
Yeah. And which was a really cool dynamic, which I think we'll come back to that in a little bit. Other characters that we definitely liked were K2SO. I mean,
absolutely.
This like I said in the non-spoiler review, for being a droid, this character had so much heart.
Absolutely.
It was just such a great performance. He was really funny.
Yeah, he was like the Groot of the crew.
Yeah.
He added that dynamic of he's the outsider, he's the Chewie of the crew. So.
It was a good like kind of balance between like 3PO and who's the other droid I'm thinking of? BB-8. I guess I feel like there's a what's it called, like a Legends character or something like that, kind of like him, maybe like from one of the video games or something. But he just like had a really cool demeanor about him, and I like that he couldn't like filter his like thoughts out, which was just like it was fun. It was just a fun character. You needed that levity, but you still like had like darkness to him even. He was a cool character. Let's keep going though. There's other characters too. There's a whole lot of characters in this movie. Perhaps not enough development on all of these guys, but Donnie Yen as Chirrut, we definitely really liked this character. But again, he just felt like he was a cool badass in the movie, but not nearly enough character development on him.
Yeah, and a little bit underused for what he could have been. Having a character who's slightly force sensitive, he can clearly use the force to a certain capacity. The fact that he wasn't given the opportunity to like show any of that off. I mean, he did whoop a bunch of stormtroopers' ass with a stick, and that was dope. But you could see that it was like itching for him to go just slightly further, and it felt like a tease that they didn't quite fulfill on. But
yeah, I mean, like I think we were also talking about how it would have been cool if we just got a little bit more backstory from these characters, like him, or from Bodhi, Riz Ahmed's character, like the pilot, and from the other guy, Baze, I think his name is. Just like where they're coming from, like if Donnie Yen's character was like a Padawan who was like abandoned during the Purge or something like that. That just that's like a line of dialogue. I feel like sometimes it's better with like a mystery, and then like Yoda, like we don't know where he's from, but then other times like I want to connect with him more, and you feel more empathy for that character, and he was very likable. I think all of them were likable, but it's just we needed a little bit more character development just spread across the board, just so you could connect a little bit more with each of them.
Agreed. Even though like I kind of understood why they didn't really focus on them too much, since it was a one-off.
Right.
Like these characters aren't expected to show up anywhere else
They
in
all
any
die.
other. Yeah, but even when it comes to like prequels or anything out,
expanded universe stuff.
yeah, no one's really looking out for them too much. So they.
I heard a rumor though about like some character that might be.
I mean,
getting
I'm
a
sure
little
they
bit-
could do it, especially in Rebels or something.
Yeah,
they could
maybe
throw
there,
a character
yeah.
here or there, but they're not really expecting to take these characters
much further.
than exactly.
Right.
Like not so much like Ahsoka, for example, who she's such a fan favorite that they had to bring her back in Rebels and give her a nice little run as well. And leave her story kind of ambiguous, so she might come back, or at least has the possibility. But none of these characters, you really get that.
Yeah, and I don't really want to see
No.
it either. I mean, like it was one and done and good.
Yeah, it was good for what it was.
Yeah. Like we started talking about it, but then Jin, like a cool character, a strong character. Obviously, she's also very beautiful, but just not enough. Just not quite enough. Like I just felt like the motivations of the character weren't always clear or like timed out right. Like she goes from like her tough upbringing, and then we see her in prison. Why is she in prison? We have no clue.
Like you get some small explanation for it, but it's nothing that really seems to tie into the plot or give her any more of a explanation or more of a backstory, something for us to hold on to.
And then it's like they just need her for the mission, and then so that's why she's doing it, and then it becomes personal, it's her dad, and then it becomes he dies, and then I really care now. But it just felt like there were moments that were a little forced upon us as like viewers, like this is the beat in the film where this needs to happen, as opposed to like earning the moment where she does give us some tears or whatever. And by the way, this is the section of the things that we liked. But like she's a cool character. We'll talk more about like what's missing in these moments. Let's keep going with what we like though. Like the aesthetics of the movie. I definitely think we both agree. This movie looks great.
Absolutely, especially the CGI of Tarkin and
Leia.
Oh
my God.
Even though Leia was just for a split second and Tarkin was kind of sprinkled throughout it, but you gotta.
He had a pretty big role.
He had a big role.
I thought it was gonna be like a scene.
Yeah, but
he had like 4 scenes.
Yeah, and pretty like extensive scenes.
He had more of a role than Vader, and they had a guy to actually be in the thing, and they didn't have a dead guy to worry about there.
Exactly, but they still found a way to. Well, technology has at least come far enough, so I mean, it can blend it in a way that it doesn't pull you out constantly. You're aware that it's there, but it's not jarring enough for you to take you fully out of the movie, so it still allows you to be immersed. You're more dazzled by it than like taken out.
I was impressed. I was
impressed.
I feel like that kind of visual effects work. You clearly have a person, like an actor there, probably looks somewhat like that actor. And then they're gonna like use all kinds of stock footage and photo images and things like that to just like blend together this performance. And like, I mean, I was looking so closely to see what didn't look right, and there were so few moments of that because I felt like they really are. I mean, it still has a long way to go to be like 100% believable, but I think we've always said that like recreating a human being was always the hardest thing to do for CGI. And I think that's because they would often like CGI the entire body. But here, it's just the face, and it looked really good.
Yeah, but like, it's also with like the way lighting hits it and like the small twitches and stuff, what have you. There's small nuances to a human body that when we see something that's close to it, but not quite human, it creeps us out, or what have you. So
yeah.
this didn't
Yeah.
get me there.
Yeah, it didn't creep me out. I mean,
It
like, I
wasn't
was
creepy.
really looking at his
Yeah.
teeth. Like, I felt, and then we watched episode 4, and the teeth, they did a really good job on the
Yeah.
teeth. Like, he has this very specific, like, alignment of his, like, bottom row, I noticed. I was like, I mean, like, color, I mean, it was really specific. So I really applaud them for that. And then the Leia thing, you know, I think it's just because of her skin quality. Like, she has very fair, very, like, soft kind of skin, and they had to get the makeup right, and I don't know, I felt like it looked good. Not as much as the Tarkin moment, but
They clearly spent more time with Tarkin than with Leia. 'Cause
it wasn't
especially,
bad.
not at all. It was nice. It like
You kind of
it,
needed
it
those
added
moments.
it.
You needed it.
It didn't take anything away.
Yeah,
from
for,
it.
if
So-
anything, it definitely, I agree, added to the movie.
And I especially like the blending of Rogue One into A New Hope. Like how the aesthetic of it, it looks fresh and new, clearly because they're using modern technology to portray it, but it still blends it in. Like it still has the same technology that they were using in A New Hope.
Yeah,
It still
or
have the same like costumes, and even when they set it up at the end, it all blends in a way that
feels very natural and organic.
You just need to see A New Hope.
Let me jump on the thing you were talking about with the ships and stuff, because I agree that although you got new ships and like weaponry and stuff, it definitely still felt like the same time period of A New Hope, and you know, nothing that was really beyond what you saw in the original trilogy. Maybe with the exception of how they used some of like the ray shield stuff, like towards the end where they had to get, you know, through that. But yeah, overall I like that the grimy, grit, dirty ships. Everything was like used and unpolished, unlike the prequels, which again just really connects the films together. Yeah. All right, so moving on, you know, so definitely the special effects were just incredible. The action, I mean, like, so they got the cinematographers, I believe, from Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down.
And it shows.
And a good choice,
Absolutely.
good decision. This is the most gritty, you know, close to rated R Star Wars movie that we've gotten, perhaps that we'll ever get. Unless they go through this rated R Vader thing that I don't know.
I applaud the idea.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, we got so much Vader. I feel like that's why I was okay with like a minimal amount of Vader. But the action, like the space battle in this at the end, top 2 for me. Space battles,
Absolutely.
top 2.
At least.
You know, like Jedi space battle at the end is my favorite. Followed by this one, followed by Revenge of the Sith in the beginning, and then A New Hope. Mm-hmm. That's just for me personally.
I don't know. I'd have to watch them all together to gauge that. All I know is this one was awesome, and I really dug it.
I love
the perspective that they showed, especially from the ground. They showed how infantry would be affected or like be knocked around by all of these huge robots and machines exploding around them, and it really got your adrenaline pumping.
And it felt like you were in the middle of it. Like I felt like they're in the trenches and like in the sand, and it's just ugly. And I like the kind of juxtaposition of them being like on this kind of beautiful paradise planet, but like this war's happening. It just reminds me of like World War II, like a lot, like the invasion of Normandy. You know, it was like on a beach. You know, like I think it was, but yeah, you know, like all. I think so.
Right.
Well, at least you know, like the beach, that beachfront warfare kind of thing. It just, it was, it visually and the spectacle, you know, they didn't really squander anything. So, like, full marks on all of that. Kind of little mini shout out to, like, just that moment where they included, like, the 2 pilots from the original series, which was just so cool that they clearly used stock footage of, like, or maybe, like, deleted scenes or whatever, but it was so nice to see that, to just connect the films again.
It blended very well.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Okay, moving on. Only a couple more things in the like section. I mean, there's a ton to like in this film. The fact that it really does clear up all of that, like the exhaust port thing. How convenient that one design flaw. This movie built the whole premise around Galen Krennic intentionally creating this design flaw so that it could be beat. That really just clears up, like, you know, 30 years of discrepancy among fans and finally kind of just puts that one to bed, you know? I really love that. I think they handled it really well with that. And other moments here and there that just, again, like, just plugging things in, little, like, not even, cameos, like, of Bail Organa, but then mentions of, like, Kenobi and stuff like that, which is, like, something I was hoping they would do, like, an allusion to where it's going next. Like, we all know where it's going, but how we get there was so much fun to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess it's time to touch upon how incredible Darth Vader was at the end of this movie. Oh my god. I mean, I kind of can't get it out of my head. It's it's like almost like a horror movie where like something really scary happens and then you kind of replay it over and over in your head because you can't get it out of your brain. That's how this moment was. And again, like you said, it just perfectly seamlessly like connects all these dots. It like literally leads up to the like a few minutes before episode 4, but with how his display of power and like it's exactly what I wanted. I wanted him. I mean, it's so weird how we like root for this guy. He's like a villainous piece of crap. But like how he just mows down these rebels. It's exactly what I wanted to see and exactly how I wanted to see it.
Absolutely,
man. He was so cool. I mean, he like holds this guy on the ceiling and like cuts this guy in half.
It just his display of power. This is a perfect example of like, what is it? The promise of the premise. We've been teased this the entire time that Vader's gonna be in this. Don't worry, fans. Like he's gonna be a big part of it, or at least an integral part of it.
Yeah.
And this was the final payoff, and it happened right at the end, which makes you even more so want to just pop on A New Hope right away.
Yeah.
Go right through the original trilogy.
Right, which we've been doing.
Exactly.
And we've been also just like studying like some of the characters, like Vader in particular, like how, you know, he was so powerful in the last moment of like of Rogue One, but you can see that like he's like holding back in certain moments when he's fighting like Obi-Wan or fighting Luke. It's like for a particular reason, like you understand why, and it just makes it just so cool.
It just brings a lot more context and gravitas to what has already been created and already been like accepted by everyone.
The last 30 minutes of this movie like were incredible. Like we talked about how the first act was a little rough, messy, all over the place, jumping us around, shoving it all down our throats. It was a little too much. Then the second act got quieter, started to become a little bit more invested. You know, still like some pacing stuff here and there. Like what? And then the last 30 minutes, particularly the last 3 minutes of the movie, it kind of makes you forgive a lot of the things that they maybe like kind of didn't quite smoothen or iron out, you know? Which leads us into the things that we didn't really like so much about the movie. And despite the fact that we really did enjoy this movie a lot, there are some glaring issues with this movie and things that kind of held it back from being, near perfect. So let's get started with that. The opening crawl. Where the hell was it?
There was no reason for it not to be in there. I could understand if they had replaced it with something to give it its own flair or
some other form of text or something, or a hologram,
or the circumstances were just so well shot and realized that we needed absolutely no
context
or explanation to it. But no, they just tossed us in for no reason.
Yeah.
In any other media or franchise, that would be acceptable. But even in the cartoons, the Clone Wars, the animated series, they even have like an audible like crawl in the beginning. They give some. They made it its own.
Yeah, the comics have it. Every book has it. Like on the opening flap, the video games have it. Like even the toys like have it. You know, like. I get that they want to differentiate these anthology movies from the episodes, but I think that you can do that and still include like some of that format that we are so used to and we expect. And I mean, that's one of the reasons we go to see a Star Wars movie in theaters for the march. We want to hear that music. And where was it? You know, and it made me a little sad. I love Michael Giacchino. But the music just, it didn't really, I mean...
At this point, the crawl sets you up. put you into the Star Wars mind frame.
Right.
And
lets you know where we just were, so like you could get started on this one.
exactly.
And the whole idea of this movie itself was that it was like, extracted a couple of words from the opening crawl of episode 4 and made an entire narrative out of it. So I feel like it was like contradictory for them to not include an opening crawl, which I think would have helped that first act of the movie out a little bit, so that you could have a little context. Galen Erso, he did this. His family lives on this planet. They've been invading this guy. This is what they're up to with the Empire, this is what they're up to with the Rebellion. And then we can kind of go off. Or, talk a little bit about Bodhi, because that was kind of confusing.
Exactly.
I didn't really understand, like, he's a defector, but then he got a message. Like, what? It was like, that's why the beginning felt like forced, no pun intended. It was just too much, too fast, and we had no time to process anything. So I was really not on board until the second act of this movie.
Exactly.
Continuing on, I mean, we just expect the crawl. I hope they remedy this, because I feel like they're going to get a lot of complaints about this. And it's not too late. Like,
no, it's not.
You had said maybe on the disc or whatever, they could put a version, or somebody will cut together a version or something like that. I feel like just put a crawl in next time, guys. Put a crawl in. It's not that hard. Crystals. Yeah, my last, not the Forrest Whitaker. Saw Gerrera, man. Now, we are the Clone Wars fan club, okay? We love this damn show. We've been watching it, every day to get, geared up for this movie, just needing some Star Wars, and, I haven't seen every episode, so it's boom, watch, whatever. It's fresh. This Saw Gerrera character, oh my god, this was, the most overacted thing I've ever seen since, Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah.
Because I think that was tremendously overacted. What will you become? I mean, God, it was what are you doing?
Painful.
His character was also, pointless. I did not understand what he was there for, to do. He was, get rid of him. Get rid of him. And then that big fat slime creature with, come on, guys. I mean, and also, didn't they learn anything from the Rathtars in Force Awakens? I personally like the Rathtars. I had no problem with them.
I didn't have a big problem with them either. I could have done without them, but it really didn't bother me.
Didn't take anything away from the movie. It was just a fun moment.
It was just completely
what the hell?
Out of the blue.
It's wait, what? I can't even articulate it because it's so bizarre. It's he's my friend, Gullet, what is his name? Gullet? What the hell? And it's just floating up towards the camera. I'm what the hell is going on? This is some David Lynch movie.
It just makes them stupid for a
What
while.
what?
It was just no point.
It was so weird. It felt really uncomfortable. I was
why
is there some giant
I could only guess that he was trying to do some homage or something, but
to Jabba maybe.
I don't know what.
If they were gonna do that, then give me a live action something.
It was a poor choice.
It was a poor choice. Don't do that again.
Word.
My only other real thing that I didn't, I just wanted a little bit more of the crystal stuff,
Yeah.
It's minor. I mean, they talk about the crystals and mining the crystals. I was really kind of hoping to see what that looked like on the inside of the crystal.
And she had a crystal around her neck. I would have liked that to have been a setup for something that came later on, her put it in a gun and it becomes a super gun,
or
throw
a
it.
lightsaber. I mean,
something.
We see a lot of characters who aren't Jedi's use lightsabers in Star Wars at this point. Look at Finn.
Exactly.
So, they referencing things. It's just but it's. I feel like it's again the things in this movie that were detracting from its perfection were kind of minor things.
Yes.
A character that was overacted by an actor, a really weird out of place monster, not quite enough character development on our main characters, particularly on the forced storyline of the protagonist. Other than that, this is a pretty damn good movie. It's a ton of fun, even though it's a dark movie. It's really fun.
It was the perfect tone. It was a tone that I was happy that they went with. I felt after Revenge of the Sith, it almost gave them license or carte blanche to be a little bit darker.
Yeah.
And that started to reflect more in the animated series.
True.
even the comics.
Yeah,
and
the animated series is really
now
dark.
they're
Both of them.
bringing it to the cinema with this and the explosions and the hard grittiness.
Yeah, of war. And I mean,
now there's talks for, well, at least rumors that there could be a rated R Darth Vader. But even
Just
if
the
they
concept.
don't, just the idea that they're willing to, bring it to a
like an adult level, like a little more adult. And I mean, yeah, that's how I felt about this one. This might be like the first Star Wars movie that's really kind of not for kids, like, and not because of like the violence, but because it's like the themes are adult themes, you know. The themes are adult themes, and it connects, I think, more with adults who are more familiar with like kind of like what goes on in our real world. I mean, like, I'm not trying to like minimize anything, but definitely with like the Syria conflict right now, I mean, like, it did give me a sense of like, you know, like the whole theme of this movie it's kind of relevant to like I think what we're experiencing even in our country right now as a new regime begins in America, and a lot of people are kind of rebelling against that. So this movie and Star Wars, I think, again, it is timeless. It can fit into any time period, like when the movies come out. And it does make me more excited even for Episode 8, you know, which I think is done shooting, and they're like working on it now. Really excited for that, but also really excited to see the future of the standalone anthology movies. I think the next one is Han Solo. So, let's see what you guys got. I mean, I'm not like opposed to it. Was I craving for a Han Solo movie? No. I would prefer like an Obi-Wan movie.
Agreed.
Over Han Solo.
Or a Yoda movie.
Even that. Or some time period that we've never explored. You know, like maybe the old Republic, like before Phantom Menace. Or, you know, that sliver of time between Jedi and Force Awakens, which is probably going to get a TV show at some point. So, anything else you want to add? I feel like that's pretty comprehensive. I mean, the movie was definitely cool. I can't wait to see it again and really analyze it even further and forgive moments, you know, that like, you know, I maybe didn't really, because it was like all so fast, and now we can like know when to expect this gullet thing and kind of just like turn off my brain or go to the bathroom at that moment and pretend like it didn't happen. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. You know, until next time,
Vigilante mode deactivate.